Welcome to Podlomania Podcast, your photography and video podcast where we introduce you to some of the most amazing creatives from around the world. I'm your host, Wayne Johns, and I'm here, as always, with my good friend, buddy, and co-host, Jake Hicks. Hey, man.
Afternoon. How you doing?
We're not in the same space again today, mate, due to this lovely lockdown, but
yeah. Well, we're recording this early December, so yeah, we are just about to come out of it now. So
a little bit.
Yeah.
We're in the festive month, Jake. The festive month. I mean, the next episode, at a push, we may even get you in a Christmas hat, mate, or a Christmas jumper.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Definitely worth thinking about. Yeah, for sure.
I just love the way the passion oozes out of you, mate. The enthusiasm coming off you right now is just is unbelievable.
Yeah. Maybe one day, Wayne. You got to think of the hair. You see, if I wear a hat, then you know what? It just ruins it. You know.
Well, I wouldn't want to take away your glory, mate. I wouldn't want to take away your glory. I must say. I've got to say, though, mate. You know, I mean, I know we're in the afternoon, so you haven't been out of bed long. In all fairness,
I think what's important is that we're together now, Wayne.
True. But I've got to say, mate, you're looking quite sprightly today. Quite, alive.
I just adjusted the white balance on my camera. That's all it is. I just warmed it up a little bit. just give myself a little bit of extra glow.
I'm not going to lie, man. I haven't been in the studio all day, and we've actually been shopping this morning. Right, we've been doing a bit of Christmas shopping.
So, what was it like out there after lockdown? Was it just absolute bedlam, or?
Not going to lie, mate. I saw real people in person. Almost bumped into somebody. Haven't had that for months.
Was it busy though or not? Was it crazy?
Yeah, man, it was crazy. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Went shopping down at a place called Gun Wharf, which you may or may not know. And the queues were getting bigger to get into the shops. So yeah, it's crazy. But mate, I'm probably gonna make you a little bit jealous here. Okay. Now I'm just gonna put this to you. Name me two things, as Cornishmen, as we both are, there's a bit of a regular delicacy in terms of our sort of diet down in Cornwall.
Pasties and scones?
Mate, both of them, nail on the head. I'm sorry, man. I know we're not in Cornwall, but I had...
Bastard. You did not just have pasties and scones this morning.
Mate, this morning, when I was there about 10 o'clock, we went for a cream tea and I had a lovely fruit scone with some Rodder's Cornish clotted cream. Super, super thick and creamy. Mate. And then we did a bit of shopping and I had to get back for the podcast. So when leaving, nipped into the Cornish pasty shop and had a large Cornish steak pasty to take home with me for lunch.
I would be asleep. How are you still standing? I don't know how you're doing it.
Metabolism of a child. I don't know, mate.
I don't know how to snooze.
Well, you can't see me from the waist down, in all fairness, from the chest down. So. Yeah. I thought it'd make you jealous.
I am, yeah. Thanks for that, mate. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Sorry, man. Well, it's just sort of, sharing's caring, as they say, mate. Sharing's caring. Yeah.
Safe travels, yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's a bit like when you went down to Cornwall for holiday, mate, and ate God knows how many. But anyway, back to it. So yeah, we're in the festive season. We're in the December month, and here we are again, mate. We've got a few more to record before Christmas, which we're gonna get nailed down, which is gonna be really good. Festivities all round. I may have to have a Christmas alcoholic drink of some sort in the next one. I think it's needed now. We're getting this close for sure. And,
what's your Christmas alcoholic drink of choice then?
To be fair, mate, it's probably the same as I drink all year round. Probably a bit of Jack Daniel's honey, to be fair. So, honey Jack Daniel's works a treat.
So cultured, Wayne. You could have made anything up.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe a bit of mulled wine, we'll throw some spices in there, some cinnamons.
Nobody's buying it.
Oh, mate. Well, our guest today. What an aspiring woman we have with us today, mate. I feel tired just thinking about her daily routine. Yeah, I'm feeling tired just thinking about her daily routine. Puts us to shame, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She does it for love and for fun and passion, and we look at it as a complete bloody workout and a chore. Yeah. Shall I start bringing this guest in?
Absolutely.
Okay, folks. Well, welcome to episode 36. And today, Jake and I are talking with the lovely Libby DeLana, who's a creative director and co-founder of Mechanica. And as a creative director, Libby's work has won many industry awards, including OneShow, Cannes Lions, D&AD, Kelly, Webby, Hatch, and loads more I'm not going to read out because it'll just take me forever. So, in addition to that, she's being profiled by the BBC for a series called Chain, where leading women figures name the women who's inspired their success. Aside from all of that, she likes to take it easy and go for a little morning walk before going to work. Little morning walk's an understatement, isn't it, mate? I'm sorry. A little walk that has now, in fact, turned into one of her most cherished accomplishments, where she has now walked the circumference of the earth in a practice called This Morning Walk. Whew. Fancy circumnavigating a globe on your feet, man. You know?
I'm feeling tired already.
I know, me too. Yeah. She's an aspiring pilot, a model. She fly fishes. And I'm sorry to say, Jake, we have another guest with such long, beautiful, flowing hair. It's two in a row now, buddy. And I almost feel hair envy for you, mate.
I am feeling the intimidation is strong.
Do I need to go and get a fan for you to switch it on so you can blow your locks around to level up a bit?
Let me just set my camera to slow-mo, 2 seconds.
Oh, well, let's bring it in. Libby, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you. Thank you both. And good afternoon. Morning
good
here,
afternoon.
but yeah.
Yeah, good morning to you and good afternoon to us, isn't it? So how is it looking is it sunny in Massachusetts?
It is not sunny today, and we are expecting our first snowstorm probably in about 12 hours, which is quite honestly both a sort of a joyous moment and also kind of grim, to be perfectly honest, because in it comes and it just sort of feels as if the whole town gets a lot smaller, especially. But it was gorgeous yesterday. It is not today.
That's the important thing. That's the important thing. Well, at least you're still in the, you still got it fairly good at the moment for about, I like the way you're so accurate as well, for about another 12 hours.
Well, here's the thing.
I was thinking that. I was like, wow, yeah, our weather is like, maybe we'll get something in the next 6 weeks.
Fair. I mean, I have to keep my eye on it because heading out for a morning walk, I need to know how many layers, do I need 2 hats, 1 mitten, headlamps? What do I need to get it going? So
what time are you up this morning for your walk?
I usually, it is ridiculous. I'm exhausted thinking about it. I'm tiring myself out. I get up about 4:30 and I head out the door about 5 a.m. and I walk. I know. I can't sleep. I don't know. It's menopause.
Oh, really? Is that what it is?
Fucking menopause.
Right.
I don't know.
So you just have bad sleep then? Like, do you go to bed at like 8 o'clock at night?
Basically. I mean, basically. I mean, just when you're getting up, I'm going to bed. But So, when you wake up all the time, you might as well do something a little productive with that time instead of sit around thinking, why am I not sleeping? So,
yeah. I couldn't think of anything more than waking up at 4:30 and going, do you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. Yeah.
I know. I understand that.
And Jake, that's about the same time you go to bed, isn't it, mate? 4:30 in the morning, UK time.
It was. Yeah. I think I went to bed at about 5. Yeah, last night. So yeah.
Oh, ouch, man.
So
that makes me buckle over.
I think I must just be recluse American. That like my body must be on the American timetable. That's all it is. Yeah. It is nice that I don't get any jet lag when I work in the US though. It's just like it's just up at normal time. It's great for me.
Right. So Libby, we're going to give you the first generic question we give all our lovely guests, and that is for our audience. How would you describe yourself and what you do?
Oh, goodness. Well, I would describe myself as 6 feet tall with gray hair down to my waist, a creative director, a designer by trade. I have insatiable wanderlust. It's a real problem, especially right now. And I think that's in many ways where Morning Walk came from, is that sort of sense of adventure. So that would be it in a nutshell.
That'd be it in a nutshell. and what do you do so our listeners can get a sort of a basis of understanding?
Yeah. So I had spent the last 30 years in advertising agencies as a graphic designer and art director. I spent the first 15 years of my career at an agency called Mullen, now called Mullen Lowe here in Boston. A really absolutely impeccable, incredible organization. And about 15 years into it, I left there as the director of design and went on to found Mechanica with several colleagues from Mullen. And as I always said, it wasn't about leaving Mullen. Mullen was an absolutely fabulous place to grow up and learn the trade. I was able to work on some really brilliant accounts. In fact, my first photo shoot was with Rolls-Royce. I had no business being the art director for Rolls-Royce, although that was an incredible shoot. I was actually smart enough at that time to think, well, I better choose and pick a photographer who's the industry's best. So we hired Clint Clemens at the time, and I honestly just showed up and kept my mouth shut. He knew exactly what he was doing, and an absolute genius when it comes to shooting cars. So he was really amazing. Quite honestly a profound teacher. So I was able to work on some amazing accounts. Timberland, Eddie Bauer. We spent a month up on in Vancouver commuting by helicopter to shoot a campaign for Eddie Bauer once. It's brilliant. I mean, commuting by helicopter for someone who has wanderlust is absolutely genius. So I worked on BMW, as I said, Timberland, Stanley Tools. So had access to, and again, I'm 58 years old. This was 20 years ago. So, being an art director was very different than it is now. We had different kinds of budgets. We were flying around the world to do these shoots. Certainly isn't happening now. So it was an incredible privilege. The world has
changed. How the world has changed, isn't it? Don't we all know that for sure?
Yeah.
And
not just because of lockdown either.
No. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
And what period were you talking about? You talking about 15 years ago? Sorry, what was that?
No, it was about 30 years ago. So I spent 15 years at Mullen and then the last 15 years at Mechanica. So we left Mullen. Although I have to say, it wasn't leaving Mullen. It was really about starting, I was 40 at the time. And the thing that became sort of interesting was, can we do this ourselves? There was, again, a total privilege to work at Mullen. So it wasn't about leaving there. It was really just sort of fulfilling an entrepreneurial dream, I guess, and have had the privilege to, start an agency with some really dear colleagues. A lot's changed in those 30 years.
Hasn't it?
I bet.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I think the first thing I've got to ask is this. Really, is we obviously we know you love to walk, and for the many reasons that you do it. But here it is right now. I mean, your morning walk practice has resulted with you circumnavigating the Earth, which is an almighty, whopping 25,000 miles, and that was up till about a year ago, wasn't it? And my question is, what were you thinking?
Yeah, it's a fair question. What had happened in my life was that my days were filled with meetings, conference calls, to-do lists, a little bit of commuting, running meetings, running an agency, which was all amazing. There was no problem that. I guess what I began to realize is I personally am happiest outdoors. And my days had become a lot of indoors, in cars and meetings, I also began to realize that actually the most creative time was when it was really quiet and the phones weren't ringing. I wasn't sitting at my computer, and I had lost the space to become truly creative, I felt. And I also grew up in my high school years as an athlete, before women were athlete, quite honestly. And so you combine sort of the desire to be at least active and outdoors. And I thought, well, at least what I can do is just go for a walk in the morning. It wasn't meant to be super athletic. It wasn't. And I'm a big believer that you have to create time for things that matter versus finding time. So I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to get up. I'm going to go for a walk. No big deal. Doesn't require, new gear. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. So, and it was just a really simple, sort of gesture.
So it wasn't this grandiose plan that you had,
No.
like a
God,
10-year
no.
action plan of like, right, I've got to walk the earth in 10
No.
years. Yeah.
No, not at all. At the same time, however, so 10 years ago, I'm 58. I was coming up on 50. And it's very clear that in our industry, the advertising industry, as you get older, you become invisible, become less and less relevant. It is a game for younger people, quite honestly. And it was also, I sound so ancient saying this, but, social media was coming, storming into our world. And I just felt, well, Instagram is a visual component. It's a visual place. What if, as I'm walking, I simply take a picture every day and I just post it? And that really was out of keeping myself honest. If I didn't take a picture, then I hadn't done it. And it wasn't meant for anybody.
Interesting.
It was a way for me to learn the platform. So again, turning 50, I felt like I needed to know these social platforms or I would become irrelevant immediately. So it was a little bit of sort of self-education. I need to use something in order to understand it. So really it was sort of, there were sort of multiple prongs. I needed to be outside. It was quiet space and time to sort of creatively problem solve. It was a way to sort of privately learn some of these social tools. And at the time, as I said, Instagram was clearly the visual social media app of the time, not unlike Twitter. So I just started using it and it became kind of a journal. I didn't give a shit if anybody saw any of those pictures. In fact, I hope nobody ever did. But it was helpful because I could go into client meetings and speak from first person experience. People will ask me, what do you think about these social platforms? And I could respond. So I guess what happened about a year and a half ago is the morning walk was never about mileage or time or how fast or how far. But I did a quick calculation about 18 months ago. I was like, oh, wow, I think I'm getting close to circumnavigating the earth, which quite honestly is not a profound physical feat. I've met many people. There are runners who probably have done that in 4 years, 5 years. So it's not that it's not that magnificent, honestly. I just had kept track of it. So now, I can't imagine not doing it, to be perfectly honest.
No, that's amazing, and you do that every day as well, don't you?
Every day,
morning, pretty much.
Yeah, every day.
And how far do you walk?
It's about 8 or 10 miles a day. So sometimes I'll do it in two pieces, depending on what's going on. I might go out in the morning and do 6 or 7, and then, now during COVID, quite honestly, it is the way I socialize. Where I'll say to friends, meet me for a walk. It doesn't have to be at 4 in the morning, to be perfectly honest. This morning I went with a friend.
Very kind of you.
Right. A friend and I met at 7. So I went out and did a little walk and then met up with her, which was lovely. So
Nice. And so how many years exactly have you been walking for then?
About 9. Yeah.
About 9 years you've been doing a morning walk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. And I will say, truly, it is... it's become kind of, I don't know, it's become essential in my life. It's, a place where I've worked through a lot of stuff and solved a lot of, issues. And I've met a lot of people. I hear from a lot of people now around the world who will send me notes and say, I just went for a walk and was thinking of you. And here's a picture of where I've been. And
amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Amazing. Do you still take a picture every day then as well?
I do.
You still keep that going?
I'd post it on Instagram every morning. And I've had a lot of people join me when I travel. Sometimes they'll say I'm going to be in LA and I'm go for a walk. And I've met up with people. So we meet up, which is pretty great. Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. Beautiful.
And obviously 24 hours in a day, how many hours are you spending walking? Because I think you said you do some in the morning and then you have another one at lunch and then you just have a quick saunter in the evening or something are you anytime you're not walking?
No, basically, no. I'm constantly walking. I will say during COVID, I'm walking more than I was before. But when we were all going into the office, I'd get up, I'd walk from basically 5 to 6:30, 7, take a quick shower and head into the office. So I was in the office by, 7:30. which I also loved. It was very quiet. So Jake, so here's the thing. By about 3:30, I'm ready for bed, though. So
yeah. Okay.
Okay. So
true. Yeah.
So that's how that works.
Okay. And you mentioned it briefly. On these walks, are you just sort of like zoned out meditating, or are you sort of like solving the world's problems? Are you writing a book in your head? Are you listening to podcasts?
Yes.
Like what it was, all of the above, or
all of the above? I mean, it really depends. I mean, let's look at walking, right? It's it's a practice of meditation for some. It's a practice of protest for people. I mean, walking is. For me, most of the time I just get up, I put my earbuds in, and I'm either listening to music, podcast, an audiobook. But there are a lot of times when it's just quiet. And actually, these last couple mornings, it's been very quiet and very dark. I have my little headlamp on, and I have no earbuds at all. And it's quite beautiful.
What is it about the act of walking, though, that is giving you that something extra? I mean, you could just sit in front of the fire at home. You could sit in the, you could put your hats and gloves up and sit quietly in the park. Like, yes. What is it? What is it about the act of walking that is doing something for you?
I think there's something for it. I think there's something about putting motion into your body that unlocks some emotion. I don't know. I'm not trained in any of this. I will say. From a visual perspective, from an art director or designer's perspective, this practice has actually really taught me how to see. So when I would go out for a walk, I often take the same walk, and I'd go past the same barn every day, and I'd look at it. If in my regular life, I just look at it. But on my walk, I actually see it differently. It's every single day, the same barn looks really different. And we all know that intellectually, but to see the shadows, so I will say as an art director, it taught me a lot about how to see. And it sounds very subtle, but I got to a point, actually, as I started to post pictures, I could begin to guess how many likes they might get. And I don't care about that at all. But as a training tool for an art director, it was actually kind of an interesting little process.
I suppose for you as well, I mean, you're doing the walk at the same time in your life every day, but the world around you is different. Like the sun's in a different place and that sort of stuff. So yes, I mean, it is going to be different even though you're there at the same time. Yeah.
And I'm different. I'm different every day. I may wake up and, just have a grump on and, so everything is different every single day, which means we see the world differently every single day. So what is it about walking? I don't know. I think that really the fundamental truth is being outside for me is an essential piece.
Okay. What a way to go. Yeah. What a way to wake up every morning. Although it is quite bloody early in all fairness, 4:30. It's like, Libby. Now we hear the terms creative director and art director. Now, for our listeners, are obviously from a very broad range of experience and knowledge base. Can you explain the difference of the two?
Sure. Yeah.
For us, please.
The thing about an art director. In an ad agency is the person on the creative team who's responsible for the visuals of whatever it is we're producing, picking the colors, picking the photographers, picking the typefaces, making sure that it is strategically aligned with the brief that we get, right? So in partnership with a writer. So what often happens is you've got your creative team that's an art director, often a designer is included, and a writer. Now we begin to see actually as part of the creative team, a creative technologist might also be part of the team. But the responsibility of that team is to come up with a concept or the idea or what is it that we're creating and producing and then presenting to the client. Creative directors can be both art directors and copywriters, as you both know. It just in general means you've been in this business a long time and you are often leading teams. And making sort of overarching strategic decisions. So not only are you responsible for the teams to come up with the idea, but you are then responsible to the strategy and to the client. So really, creative director is more a signifier of how long you've been in the business, and you can now lead teams. But your craft would still remain the same. So I'm a creative director, art director.
Get you. Okay. So you're still diving in there and getting your hands dirty, so to speak.
Yeah.
But at the same token, you're back there overseeing all these teams.
That's right.
At the same time.
It's a really good point. So a creative director is often less involved in the day-to-day of an idea and has sort of moved to a place of sort of management leadership oversight and a little bit less in the day-to-day.
Yeah, get you.
I mean, I don't have the figures to back this up, sadly. I mean, maybe you do, but I think it's fairly, it's fair to say that the majority of creative directors are men. Why do you think that is? After all, so many of the products that we, are tasked to sell are for women.
It's a great question, Jake. There's actually a really, really powerful organization called the 3% Movement, started by a really fabulous woman, Kat Gordon. It's an organization I'm involved with. When she started it, 3% of creative directors were women. Hence it was called the 3% Movement. I think that number it's certainly moved up. I'm not sure exactly what it's moved up to. I think recently I heard 11%. But it's a really, really great question. Why is it that women are so underrepresented in these roles when, to your point, they are making what we understand to be 80 to 90% of purchasing decisions, or they're influencing those decisions.
Wow.
So it's a good question. I think the industry, all industries do this, which is, people like to see people like themselves. So, I will say we women creative directors are a little bit of an anomaly. They're it's definitely a movement to shift that up. But it's a great question. And I think our industry would be well served to have more women in those roles.
Yeah, rightly so.
Yeah.
But I mean, you are definitely seeing it going in the right direction. Though.
Yeah. Again, I think it might be 11, 15%, but still 15%. Think about that.
I'll be honest, that is actually lower than I thought it. Thought it was. Yeah. Wow.
But
like you say, a big jump from 3%, but as an overall percentage, it's still.
Let's even round it up to 20. Again, I don't know what the number is now. I should have looked that up before I got on this call with you. But let's even call it 20%. It's tiny.
Still pretty shitty.
Yeah, pretty shitty. Yeah,
pretty shitty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
But I mean, men can obviously sell products to women.
Absolutely, and they have successfully. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. When we get a creative brief, I mean, obviously it doesn't really. We have to be able to put ourselves in the mind of the customer or the audience, and sometimes that's a child. Sometimes, when I was working on BMW or Rolls-Royce, that audience is not particularly. It's not who I am, so I have to. Yeah. But a good brief and a good strategy enables you to sort of strategically get there. So you're right.
You've got to throw yourself into the role, then, really, haven't you? You're almost like an actress in a way. You've got to dive into the role of what the client's brief is about be able to understand it and produce it in a kind of way.
And I always felt that our role was really to harness the passion of what's inside an organization, a company, and share that passion with the world. That's to me what communication marketing is. It's really easy to understand when it comes to Rolls-Royce, the passion of the drivers of those cars. I have to tell you this one little story of first arriving at Rolls-Royce for the shoot and driving these cars. At one point, our client opened up the trunk to this beautiful, I think it was a Turbo R, so it was a Bentley. And he was just showing us the craftsmanship of this car. I mean, they are individually built, right? So there was a strip of chrome that ran around, I think what you guys would call the boot, the trunk of the car.
Yep.
And as he showed it to me, what I began to realize was every single screw head was lined up to be precisely in alignment, right? They were all perfectly horizontal. It's not as if someone just went and screwed the screw heads in, right? Like even that level of meticulous detail. Yeah. And so it was just by looking at that, I realized, wow, in the photographs that we take, we have to somehow embed that meticulous passion for these cars. They're almost like sculpture, right? Yeah. So how we shoot those cars has to reflect that level of detail and that passion the builders have for those products. So
that's just so beautiful to hear, though, Jake, isn't it? I mean, just hearing your passion, Libby, just explaining that is so nice to hear from a creative director or art director. I mean, we hear less and less of that kind of passion nowadays, I think, and people are just going,
well, so fast.
We've got the
It's
brief
so
and
fast.
just blow it through. Yeah.
You get the brief and it's supposed to be, on their table by Monday, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
By Monday, and not only do we want the photograph for the spot or something, but we want the behind the scenes, and then we want the 15-second for Instagram stories, and your deliverables lists are just.
I've just been talking about it yesterday in a webinar about social media and, clients now expecting to have behind the scenes footage ready for social media use as part of the commission nowadays.
Yes.
Crazy world we're living in, yeah.
Could we just please have the hard drive, actually? I don't want you to edit. I don't want you to make any selects. Just hand it over.
Camera at the end of the day. And then just call it quick.
That's what it'll be soon. It'll be like going back to film, won't it, in a way? You'll shoot film and just hand over the film in the end and just walk away from it. You'll just be handing over a hard drive soon.
Yeah, no, that's
That'd be quite nice. Now your company Mechanica, I mean, you employ a big team really, and a mixture of sort of strategists or strategists, if you call them over there, creative directors and brand directors.
Yeah.
Now, as a team, what do you do for brands and companies? Because we're assuming you're working for companies, really big companies, really big campaigns. Are you mixing in smaller brands and campaigns?
Oh, absolutely,
as well?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's the lovely thing about being a small agency. Is the ability to sort of go both ways. So we've had, big Fortune 500 companies and little small startups, which is honestly, both are really wonderful for different reasons. And we always start with strategy, and that's a key piece of how we get to creative. Quite honestly, I'm not sure how any creative director, any art director, any writer, even photographers, I'm not sure how anybody can honestly present an idea without a good strategy, because quite honestly, then it just becomes so hard to articulate why you've made a decision. So I would expect that you as photographers would get a really, really clean, clear strategy, creative brief so that you know what you're producing. Otherwise, honestly, it all becomes...
Can you explain what you mean by strategy?
Yeah. So for example, let's say for Rolls-Royce, our whole goal was to really communicate. The strategy was to communicate the craftsmanship, the detail, the meticulous nature of what it is that we're building. So the strategy for this one campaign wasn't about its beautiful, what it feels like to drive this car or how safe it was. Let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, this one campaign was all about the meticulous, passionate craftsmanship, right? The exquisite detail. So now I, as an art director, go to you as a photographer and say, you know what, our sort of campaign our campaign is really embedded in this idea of this meticulous, exquisite craftsmanship. So, it's based in a lot of strategic work that we do. Then we come up with a concept which we share to you and the client. And now you know what you are shooting. You're not just shooting cars. You're not shooting speed. You're not shooting to show comfort. You're shooting to show this really beautiful.
It makes sense.
Craftsmanship.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So quite honestly, in that Rolls-Royce campaign, we actually shot the trunk. We shot and its sexy curve that goes down to the back of the backlight. Yeah. So it almost looked like this beautiful female hip and body, right? It was gorgeous. Nice. So what we didn't do was stand back and, show the wheels spinning and how fast it was going. It was this little...
All that elegance.
Yeah, this little micro shot that looked really sexy, but what you really saw was the sort of... And so the strategy there was this micro moment and passion around the craftsmanship.
Wow. And did you manage to get any panning shot in of your screw heads all in alignment and sort of accessories to those lovely curves?
I took that picture, but nobody else in the world saw it.
I knew it. I knew that was going to get in there. So in that respect, and what you've just explained, how should, if we look at smaller companies, how should smaller companies or brands or even individual sort of business owners in terms of the creative side, like photographers or something, how do you think they should approach marketing themselves? And what advice or even direction could you give them if they don't have the skills of, say, a company like yours? Things perhaps you feel clients or brands miss, especially in these current circumstances that we're all under.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's, honestly, it's really hard to do. And I think that's the power of
Yeah.
bringing in a partner, an agency to help you, because I think really the key thing is figure out what's your one message. So I'll say for myself, if I'm marketing myself, for me, it's I'm a creative director and I go for a walk. What I think brands often do is they try and tell you too much. They get so inside. There's so much passion for all the things they do. They try and talk about all of it. So if you think of BMW and Volvo, we know them each for one singular thing. We know BMW for the ultimate driving machine, right? It's performance. We think of Volvo. What do we think of? Safety.
Safety.
It doesn't mean
It's
that.
clever.
And old people.
And old people, right? Right.
Wow.
True
That's
fact.
ageist, Wayne. Come on.
It is. It
Come
is.
on.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
Been synonymous with the Volvo ads for decades, though, hasn't it? You know.
Totally.
Yeah.
But the point is that Volvo is still a performance and BMW is still about
It's still
safety.
safe.
But, pick a lane, basically. Don't
It's a
don't
really
try,
good point. I think it's a really good example as well. Yeah.
don't tell me everything, because, and also as a consumer out there, there's so many messages. I can't pay attention to all your messages from your brand. One of my dear colleagues used to describe it as, if I throw you 3 ping pong balls, you're likely to be able to catch all 3. If I throw you 16, you're lucky if you catch it. So pick the 3 you want to throw.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like it.
That. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky in these current circumstances as well, when business in general is so difficult. And the creative industry has, like we said earlier, without diving too deep into it, has changed a lot without any COVID implementation. I mean, magazine print in itself is on a massive decline, and digital's taking over the world everywhere, isn't it, for every part of the media?
Yeah, I would say that the sort of headline is, make sure you know what your story is. I mean, story is an overused word currently in our industry, but it is true. People remember stories. They don't remember features and benefits. So what's your what's the story? Make me feel something.
So
Please make me feel something.
So true. I love that.
Oh, shit. Just going to scrap
hang on a
my
minute.
bio a minute and just
No.
rewrite that bad boy.
Yeah. Wayne's bio says it's all about story, so he's just changing that.
You're just changing it up.
You co-founded Mechanica. What made you think the world needed another ad agency? What was the gap in the market that you are now filling? What does Mechanica offer? And will you work for anybody?
Was that asking for a friend, Jake?
Yeah.
That last bit?
The world does not need another ad agency, number one. But 15 years ago, I think what we thought was there actually was an opportunity to change the model a little bit.
Okay.
Without going too deep, the agency model 15 years ago, all the creatives were in-house. And that meant that you would only produce the kind of work that those creatives could build, meaning art directors.
True.
What began to happen 15 years ago is you needed a lot of different kinds of creatives. You needed kind of interior designers. You needed social strategists. You needed a whole host of people. I mean, for example, here in the U.S., we have Dunkin', and especially in the Northeast, we have Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. If you look at those two brands, one could argue that the primary difference is actually interior design, right? The way you understand that brand is interior design. You go into Starbucks, there's overstuffed chairs and pendant lights, and that actually comes from their strategy, which is the third place. It's neither home nor work. It's the third place. So it's a combination. So strategically, that's why that interior looks the way it does. Dunkin' Donuts, on the other hand, is all about speed, fluorescent lighting, drive-throus. And so, those two brands are reflective of their strategy, but they each needed a really deep set of different kinds of creatives to bring those brands to life. So, long-winded way of saying, 15 years ago, we thought agencies couldn't possibly have all that skill internally. We didn't have directors and filmmakers and interior designers. So what we did was to create an agency where we essentially had very few creatives in-house, and we would partner with everybody. So we would pull together and create a team. We used to call it sort of the global talent cloud. We would bring you to the table, plus an interior designer, plus a social strategist, led by our team, and pull the idea together. And then those individual creatives would go back to where they were. So it was really sort of pulling together a team based on the specific need of a client. And so what that meant was we were deconstructing the agency. Whereas you used to bring all these, you had full-time employees that did all this work. We were saying we didn't have to employ them. We'll just bring them to the table as we need them. You know, if we needed a filmmaker, we'd bring a filmmaker to the table. If we need an interior designer, if we need an elephant trainer, we would bring them to the table. So,
but that was almost the beauty of agencies back then was the fact that they,
yes.
and the word style gets
yes.
thrown around as well. But like, okay, this agency, I'm going to this agency because they're in-house people can provide.
That's exactly right.
This style of what I want.
That's right.
Whether it be Saatchi or whatever. But whereas what you're saying is that's true, but the talent is coming from you and your smaller team to make sure that talent is
pulled together,
acquired, as it were, and put in the same spot. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah. And I mean, it makes total sense. It does make total sense.
And I will say it's the norm now. I mean, that was 15 years ago.
For sure. But that's crazy.
So so that's why.
But
I guess from a creative point of view, though, that almost gives you more scope for a broader range of client, because then if you're pulling in a stylist or a photographer, you're pulling in one that is relative to that brand that specialize in what they want.
Yes, that's
exactly. And which your in-house one may not have the skill set.
That's exactly right.
Or the background to cover. So it's just kind of.
It's also wonderful for clients because we might say, hey, you know what? We're going to pull this superstar in for 2 weeks. They're incredible. We couldn't possibly.
Thanks, Libby.
Yeah, no problem. And that person's going to influence the outcome, but we don't need them as full-time employees, right? We need their expertise to influence where we're going. But
are all agencies like that now then?
It's really, I would say it's a mix. I think
it is still a mix, is it?
Yeah, I think the big agencies have their in-house crew, because the other thing that we learned is, of course, everything's moving so quickly now. If you didn't have any creatives in-house, it would be hard to serve your client's needs, because there's so many things that have such a quick turnaround. So I would say it's a little bit of both. It's often agencies have an in-house crew, and then they partner with others. A lot of people would say, "Oh, you outsource the creative," which used to drive me mad, because it sounds as if you are putting the onus, on somebody else. No, we actually brought people in to join our team to make it, more profound and better.
Make it get you.
Okay. And looking at your site there, and the people that you've worked with, I mean, it seems like you're quite a wholesome company, should we say? Like, are there, like the ethos of your company? Do you have brands that you won't work with, or is there a certain type of client that you won't work with? Are you trying to work with a specific type of client, shall I say, rather than not work with people?
Yeah, no, we don't have sort of a house style or a list of those. I will say here in the Northeast, there's a lot of B2B accounts.
Okay.
And so, that's been quite a bit of what we've done in the past, but certainly quite a few consumer brands. There's a lot of footwear brands here in the Northeast, so that's often a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nice. Now, talking about shifting models over time with agencies and things, you model a bit yourself too, don't you?
You know what? I just did for the first time. So I can't say that I can own that title at all. And it in some ways makes me a little uncomfortable. I prefer to be behind the camera than in front of the camera.
Hey, remember what we say. If you've done it and you've got a photo, then it's happened.
It's happened. Yeah. I honestly, through Instagram, a scout reached out about 6 months ago and said, would you be interested? And
amazing.
And I was just sort of more curious. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think being old and gray hair right now is kind of cool, I guess. So
I'm getting there.
It's getting there. I mean,
you're on trend, Wayne. Bloody hell, mate. It finally happened.
All, mate. Yeah.
I mean, your guest who is kind enough to give a shout out, Gillian, is, I mean, honestly, a trendsetter. She's been doing it for 10 years. In any case, so I was fortunate to be cast for a very well-known beauty brand, skincare brand. It was right as COVID was kicking off. The shoot was done in New York. An incredible cast and a really, really superstar director. And I didn't
Beautiful.
know who it was until I got on set, and I think I'm not supposed to say yet. It's going to launch.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's good. I mean, I to be perfectly honest, I totally fell in love with him. He's incredible. And when we were shooting was a very important time for him, which was really magical to be with him at this moment.
Right.
He'll be on Earth. But the campaign launches in January, and
Nice.
again, it was a beauty brand, so I was not really interested if it was sort of anti-aging. I'm pro-aging. I'm really glad I'm aging. So, and it turned out to be a campaign that was kind of anti-aging. So it was three of us, three women who they cast. The other woman was the director for an incredible film called Free Solo. And one of the other women is a woman who is, I think, I would argue, the hottest DJ in Brooklyn. She's about 60, or she has been. So it was a really great crew, really fun. And that campaign launches in, I think, sometime in January. So it was both video and stills.
I like when you've given us so much detail and told us nothing.
I know.
It's
True.
Oh my gosh, I wish I could.
We'll wait till January. Don't worry. We'll wait till January. We'll have to put it as an add-on in the show notes that people can go and see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're with a model agency called We Speak, aren't you?
Yeah.
So so you basically just said you got spotted by a talent scout, came up to you, and just
well,
put
actually,
it
came through DM on Instagram, and at first I was thought, so it showed up through Instagram.
It's amazing how opportunities are out there, isn't it? So,
yeah.
But you're quite proud of the agency you're with as well, aren't you? Because it kind of goes down to your values as well, doesn't it? I mean, what values do We Speak as an agency have that you think all model agencies should have?
Well, I think that, they're really changing the face of, if I do air quotes around what a model is, right? A model is certainly, I suppose, can look a certain way, but it's really a model for how you are in life. And so, We Speak represents a really beautiful, beautiful range of people. And I think is really becoming the go-to place if you're looking for really interesting, thoughtful people who are more than just what you see. Is the best I can kind of describe it. Run by a really powerful, beautiful young woman who was in the industry herself and thought things should change.
So really good base values on that. No, I understand that completely. Yeah, it's about time a lot of them should shift to those kind of values of people, respect of people, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Libby, we finished the first part of the show. We're halfway.
Fantastic.
We're just over halfway. You've now reached the fun part of the show.
Let me guess. It's going to be the rapid fire.
It's the rapid fire, not so rapid fire round.
Okay.
You've got it.
All right.
You've absolutely got it. So if you need any fuel in between this to get you supercharged, then go for it. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Right. Now, as always, folks, this may have some bearing on what we're talking about today, or it may be completely indifferent and have no meaning whatsoever. So don't expect to learn anything at all, is what I would say.
I'm looking at some of the questions Wayne's given me, and I'm like, I don't even get it. So, I mean.
Yeah. That's what we love about this part of the show. It's so random. Okay, Libby, how many pairs of walking shoes have you gone through?
I go through a pair.
I really want to know this.
You know what? I'm going to get my calculator. I go through a pair every 600 miles, which is about every 2 months. So if we take...
What?
Yeah.
Holy
Okay, let's
shit.
just get the calculator out.
And when you say go through, you're talking about like they just start falling apart, or you wear through the sole type stuff?
My feet my feet aren't on the cement at that point. Things just get wonky. My feet don't feel so good. So let's say it's 6 pairs a year times 9. I've been through 54 pairs of shoes.
You want to sort out a sponsorship, Libby?
Oh, I kind of do. I only have 1 pair that I'll wear. So the Hoka brand.
Well, let's hope you're not sponsoring that by yourself and are actually sponsoring you. And Hog Around, if you're not listening to this if you're listening to this podcast and you're not sponsoring it, now's
your chance. Yeah, no, my favorites.
Would you say designing a plate of food is like designing an ad for a client?
Oh, without a question. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Proportion, color, right? All of that. Proportion, color, space. Exactly. What size plate? Is there a rim? Is there, yes, the answer is yes. Well,
this is all new to me. I mean, it's a miracle if I make toast.
So, yeah. Well, me too. Well, here's the real tragedy of being a trained art director is you art direct fucking everything. Right? You come into your bedroom and it needs zhuzhing, and you make a plate of food and it needs to be, you find yourself moving the potatoes over half an inch. I end up kerning the potatoes on the plate. Right. And kerning.
Kerning, I love it.
Brilliant. For those who are listening, kerning is the space between letters. We designers look at that kind of thing. So guess what? I see that everywhere. I'll drive by a billboard and my hand is in my
200 years ago, they used to lock people like you up.
Yes, they sure did. They probably should now.
I may not be quite that meticulous in detail, but I cook a lot and I love cooking. But I'm looking at my plate and I'm liking, I need some more abstract shape in there. And if I'm moving over a bit of color balance and a bit of texture.
Yes. What do you think a garnish is for? Absolutely.
Yeah, where's the shadow gone from my plate? Where's that deep shadow gone? It's
Absolutely.
Now we know obviously we've not put this in previous questions, but we've got a bit now where you're a bit of an aspiring pilot. So this question is relative to that. Have you had any scary moments while flying a plane?
While I'm flying, or having been a passenger? Well, I'm flying, no, and I'm really just starting. I mean, plenty of scary times when I'm a passenger, right? Scary in that it's just stormy, but it doesn't happen to bother me. But I'm just getting started. And the reason I got started was when I was about 13, I read a book named West with the Night by Beryl Markham, and it was about her flying around Africa. And I remember reading that in my little suburban home and thinking, oh my gosh, I want to do that. But to your point earlier, they lock people like you up. I thought I was crazy. I kind of wanted to fly. And I had no idea how to do that. So I started recently. Haven't done it in the last several months just because of COVID. But hope to pick it up again.
Have you ever fallen in while fly fishing?
Oh, God, yes. I mean, who doesn't?
Does that happen a lot then? Because it looks so peaceful.
No.
It's just so graceful. Like the fish just swim up to you and jump in your lap.
They do, basically. No, you just call them, here, fishy, fishy, and they swim right over to you and you reach down and,
give them a smile and off they go, happy as.
No, it doesn't happen a lot. And I can't say I've fallen into the point where I've been underwater, but I'm sure it's bound to happen.
You don't feel your weight is up yet then.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, we know Christmas is coming, so what do you not want as a gift?
Actually, I don't want stuff. I don't want any. A dear friend of mine recently tweeted out something like, "If you're over 50 and you're thinking of buying something right now, you might just pause. You might already have it." So
love it. It's true.
So, and I understand that's a very privileged place to be coming from, and I acknowledge that. But that being said,
I already have it.
So, I don't.
So nothing then, really.
Let's see. I mean, every girl likes a nice new cashmere sweater, but beyond that, no, I don't. Nothing.
No. Really. Oh, well, you don't want. Well, in that case, I'll just take these keys back to Bentley.
Yeah, won't you please? I already have mine. It's in the car. I mean, it's in the garage.
Oh, what was I?
Yeah, I still
see
have
what I mean?
mine.
You've already got it. Already got it. What was I thinking?
That would have been awkward. Have you ever seen an ad campaign by someone else and thought, what are they doing?
Yes.
Or you had to think about that, Libby. Come on.
Well, there's a bill.
You don't want to name it, do you? You don't want to name it.
Well, there's a billboard not far from here that I drove by the other day, and I had to turn back and go back and check it out. It was
brilliant.
Something just said in big letters, something like hot shingles. And so as you drive by quickly, it's like, oh my gosh, what's that for? But it obviously was for a roofing company. But the whole language was... It's like, okay, well.
Okay. I thought you were going to say you misread it then. It was actually hot singles.
Yeah, well, that was the point.
Wow. Jesus.
Easy mistakes can be made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're driving fast past a billboard.
Well, I think that's exactly what they were hoping, is that I would catch that, and it was actually not for what I thought it was. Terrible.
Oh, right. I'm going to drop you off anywhere in the world for your morning walk. Where's it going to be?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a long answer to this, but I don't think anybody necessarily wants to hear it. I think it's in... I've actually always wanted to walk the Camino in Spain. But I think right now where you would drop me off is probably in, I think someplace in Nepal with a dear friend of mine. Yeah, to walk someplace in those.
I've never been. Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely on my list. Yeah, always wanted to go. Yeah.
We have a very dear friend who's spent a lot of time there, and so I would go walk with her. Her name is Maggie Doyne, and have a look up of her. CNN Hero of the Year.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Has an organization named Blink Now that is really serving a lot of kids over there. So I would go walk with her.
Okay.
Seen that on your site.
Yeah.
Seen that. Okay.
I've invited you over for dinner, but I've asked you to bring dessert. What are you going to bring for me?
Oh, what a great question.
Yeah, these are Wayne. I can't take credit for these. Yeah, these are good.
Oh, gosh. Is it only one? One thing?
Hell no.
I'm a growing boy, so I'll allow more.
Okay, so here's what's really clear. It's not going to be pie. It's going to be some kind of cake. I actually have a $1 million bet with several people that cake is by far a better dessert than pie. We haven't been able to...
You don't need to convince us, but I mean, you might...
I know, right? Oh, exactly. Yeah. So thank you. You just put more checks behind cake, and I need that. So I think it's a lemon pound cake, some kind of lemon pound cake. But again, not pie.
No pie. No pie. Well, this is an easy one. We kind of covered this one already. What was your first modeling job?
Oh, yes. Well, soon to be revealed in January.
Yeah, watch this space.
Watch this space. It's terrifying, to be perfectly honest. It's really fucking terrifying.
Which bit? What? It coming out and then people talking about it?
Yeah, okay. Yes.
It's fine.
Wow, you really got me asking questions now. Did she do something naughty on set? Like, what is it like? It's a lot of questions going through my mind. Like, you fell in love with the guy. It's just so many questions.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
On set romance. Yes. There's a whole new commercial.
Yeah. When the recording stops, we can continue this conversation.
Oh, okay.
In that case, quick, Jake. Hurry up with the questions.
Let's wrap this up. Yeah. How many more times are you planning on circumnavigating the Earth on foot?
Oh, let's see. If it's every night, let's call it every decade. I think at least for another 3 or 4 times.
Good on you. Yeah,
that's like,
Join me. Anybody's welcome to join me. I love company.
100,000 miles on a morning walk.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot when you put it like
does.
that.
It actually does.
Yeah. As long as I don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow. Well, Libby, you'll be pleased to know you've smashed the rapid fire round. I mean, that was awesome. Yeah. And with the results of cake coming out on top there, I think.
You guys are clearly my team. So.
Oh, cake. We all love cake.
We all love cake.
Not gonna lie, I made a lemon cheesecake in the week with a ginger biscuit crumb base.
Okay, that's enough.
It was to die for. Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter loves it.
Look, in the first half of this episode, we spoke a lot about your life in recent years. But can I ask about your earlier years? What drove you as a creative person in the past? What excited you back then? And did you produce your own work at some point compared to now, where you just get the best out of other people?
Yeah, no. So I grew up in Connecticut and spent quite a bit of time actually in Ireland in the summer. I spent 3 summers living in Ireland.
Really? Okay.
Down in Kildare. It was training for some riding, horseback riding. And so I lived in Kildare at a little school where we were doing a lot of riding and dressage. But in the weekends, we would hop on the bus and go up to Dublin. And when I got to Dublin, I found Trinity College, and I found the Book of Kells inside the Trinity College. And the Book of Kells is open to a new page each day. And it's actually where I fell in love with typography. It's just a for me, it was a mind-blowing document. It was gorgeous. And lots of calligraphy.
How old are you at this point, sorry?
I was 13 or 14. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, wow. Teenage. Yeah,
and I think it was at that point I realized, oh, wow, this is something it's not that I hadn't been exposed to. My mom is a teacher of art history, so art had been around, but I don't think I didn't know about typography, really. I knew I loved every time a magazine would come in the house. And so slowly, I think I began to think about, this is an arena where very interested. I actually looked at kerning. Crazy. So then went on to college, actually studied philosophy, which quite honestly is the same thing as advertising in many ways.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot there. Yeah.
Crazy. And then after college, actually my art school was cooking school. My best friend and I spent a year in New York going to cooking school. And we're planning to open up a restaurant when things sort of went south. But what I realized at that moment was I loved putting together the menu. So then went on to do some studying here in Boston at a few art schools, and then actually identified Mullen as the place I really wanted to work. I just put together kind of a personal campaign. I was like, okay, well, this is advertising. I'll do a campaign for myself. Honestly, I had no business being hired. Absolutely none. I was not good enough, not skilled enough. I don't know that I still am at all, but it was a great play. I got lucky, I think, and it was a great place to learn.
Why do you think you got the job then?
I think, honestly, because I put together a campaign for myself. I didn't come with really a portfolio. Okay. So I identified what mattered to me. I put together a campaign. I sent it over the period of time to their executive creative director, Paul Silverman. I'm not sure that had been done before. Most people probably came in with portfolios and books, which I didn't really have. So I had to make it up myself. And so I freelanced for a bit and then got the gig.
And what was your favorite type of work to do then?
Well, at Mullen, we had started to work in teams, as I mentioned earlier, of art director, writer, and I was the designer. So, being in that kind of dynamic team, and my responsibility was really, once the concept was sort of finalized, was bringing sort of craftsmanship to it. So there was one campaign we were doing for Victorinox Swiss Army knives. Mm-hmm. And the campaign, it was a beautiful campaign, really. And part of what we wanted to do was and this is the time with magazines, so this was a spread, and we wanted the whole page to be red because the knife was red. But what I didn't really want to do was just pick up color red and have it be printed. So we went to a monograph studio, a printing studio, and took all sorts of different kinds of papers and laid red ink on it in a variety of different ways to see the kind of texture we might get, to see again, representing the craftsmanship of the product. Mm-hmm. So, we would put a lot of detail into how we built those ads. Not something that's done very much now, but that's the kind of thing I loved. Or we would letterpress. Yeah. We would literally letterpress a label, then photograph it, and that would be the ad. So we're really...
it's a beautiful process.
It is a beautiful process.
Yeah, wow.
It's just ironic that you mentioned Victorinox because I have a Victorinox knife myself, which still got the red handle.
Yes.
I think we all got one,
a big straight bladed knife, and I've had that one about 25 years. Yeah. And it's still one of the best cutting knives I've ever got for cooking.
Right. Yeah,
it's a huge.
Well, you know why it's red? It's red because so in case of an avalanche, it would be easy to find. So in the snow, if you dropped it, that's why those.
Do you look at the edge of my blade on that one now, and it's rough and jagged everywhere. It's definitely not a fine cutting edge, but it'll still slice tomatoes
perfectly,
quite fine.
Do you have the one with the little pastry hook on it?
No, I have a little shorter serrated one for doing other things.
So some of those bigger knives have what looks like a blade that you unfold, and on the end is a little tiny hook, and it's meant to when you go to the go to the bakery and you pick up your box that's tied with string, that you hook this little hook on it. Now you have a handle as you walk home, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, no,
when you get your cake, right?
Those were the days.
My knife the tip of it used to be so sharp that when you were chopping, if you're moving around, you would probably stab yourself and not feel it. And I did it so much because it was so surgically sharp. I actually had to snap the point off it, just the very tip, because it was too dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah, too dangerous. There you go. Sort of divergence there. I mean, you're a creative director. We've said that a lot anyway. But what is the meaning of creativity for you personally? And how do you think you relate that to your business?
Ultimately, creativity is problem solving at the end of
Mhm.
the day. I guess you could splash the label innovation on it or inventing things. But creativity is really the ability to solve some kind of problem. And in advertising, again, when you get that brief and it's identified who your audience is, what we're trying to communicate, the problem you're trying to solve is how can I do that in a really emotive, meaningful way? Maybe even playful. How do I capture attention? How do you apply that to business? I mean, there's all sorts of things every single day that could use a splash of creativity for solving.
True.
Now more than ever as well.
Yeah,
especially now. Yeah, especially.
If we can just talk about your process then. I think you were kind of touching on it then, but let's just say you receive a brief from a client. How do you go about realizing that into a final product? Is your first port of call like brainstorming with a team? Do you dig into a secret archive of inspiration, or are you just going to go out on a walk and just hope that it hits you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it starts with a brief, right? And the brief essentially is a distillation of all the learnings about the audience, about what the product is. And that is shared with a team. Again, often a writer and an art director, whomever else. And each team really has its own process for how the team will get to the idea. For me, it's exactly as you said: wake up, have a piece of cake, go for a walk, dive into. I find it very helpful to look at competitors. What are competitors doing? What are areas we need to stay away from? I do have a secret archive of work that has inspired me in the past.
Nice.
A little treasure
We've all
trove.
got them. Yeah, we've all got
Yes,
them.
we do.
Yeah.
So that's how it would go about solving that. I will say also, I find really helpful, and I don't have this now, but I always found incredibly inspiring. I had this when I was at Mullen, a big wall with all sorts of things pinned up on it. It might be a recipe. It might be one of your photographs.
Okay.
It might be some language or words. And I find that those sort of places where things bounce up against each other that are a little unexpected often spark an idea. So I find when I have a big wall of imagery and colors that on any given day, I'll come in and I'll see things that I hadn't seen before. And it often might then prompt a starting point for an idea. So, if I'm in a really stark, sterile kind of place, it's hard to do that. But
Agreed.
So call it a huge mood board.
You have this wall at the office where you're constantly adding stuff, maybe taking stuff away, just
That's
sort of updating it. Yeah.
Is
that your shrine, or are other people allowed to add to that? Or
I don't have it now, but when I was at Mullen, it's off limits. It's mine. It's private. Yeah. No. You can't just come and pin stuff on there. Nope.
Yeah. This is not a collaboration piece.
No, it's not. This is not an invitation to have a conversation about. No, this is mine.
No free flow, is it? Yeah. There's a simple rule: touch
it,
you
you're
die.
done.
Just as an add-on to that, you've mentioned like this client brief a lot throughout this episode. How are you getting this golden brief from these clients? Because I've received some briefs and it's clear that the client doesn't really know what they want. So like, how are you getting what you need from them?
That and quite honestly, I'm sorry to hear that, because that's impossible to then move forward. It's like handing, quite honestly, it's like handing builders a half-done blueprint and saying, build a house. Well, we can build a house, but there's a lot of kinds of houses we can build. We could build a 2-story, we could build and yes, I'm capable of building the house, but you actually have to tell me what you like and what you need. And so this brief, I would say, how do you get to it? It starts with a bunch of research. We talk to customers. We do an audit of competitors. I think the single most critical piece of a good brief is coming up with an insight. What do we know about our audience that we know they will be inspired by? So that insight is essential. So
know your audience is one. Yeah.
Know your audience, know what your competitors are doing, know the product, so that, if you're looking at a Venn diagram, know your audience, know the product, know what your point of difference is. Undoubtedly, you're not the only one in the marketplace who's making hummus. So what makes your hummus so unique?
And it comes back to this pick a lane thing that you mentioned earlier.
Pick a lane. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so if you say, okay, well, our hummus is organic, great. Now there's 3 competitors in that space. Of those 2 others, what makes you unique in that? And how do we tell that story such that somebody feels it and gets it?
Coming back to that style again. Yeah.
Yeah.
That style.
Yeah. No, that's right. So
great answers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's also good information for perhaps, smaller companies, or, if you take creatives like us, say photographers, especially as they're struggling now.
Lowly photographers.
I think that's good information for them to perhaps rethink the way they've been doing things into promoting themselves and getting their work to be noticed, perhaps, or what clients are shooting at the moment, what people aren't doing enough to go and look at what their competitors are doing, as a prime example. So,
right.
Yeah,
and I would imagine, if you got on set and your creative director, your client hadn't clearly articulated that, I actually don't know how photographers move forward, or anybody. Because back to the point of, I can build you a house, I can take pictures.
Yeah.
But if I don't understand the subtlety, the passion, the craftsmanship, the detail, the insight about what you're trying to communicate, I can't get that for you. So quite honestly, it's in the best interest of the client to get as specific as possible, because it's costly on the other end. Because
and it'll be my fault.
It'll be on you.
It turns out
That's
bad.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We know whose fault it becomes.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I've had plenty of the directors on the set where you've got the brief and everyone understands it, and then when you shoot it, it's actually nothing what they have in their mind, but then nor is the brief that they've given you.
It is that magic of trying to extract that image they have in their mind's eye. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well,
what they see in their mind's eye is definitely not what is on the brief on the piece of paper. What I mean?
Or
it's completely different.
Sort of cozy up to you with a picture on their iPhone and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for.
Classic.
So I'm looking for. You've got it. It's in your hand already. Go for gold. Okay.
Exactly.
So following on from that, what is one of the problem areas you see in our industry, in the creative industry in general? I mean, is there anything or any values that you think are perhaps being overlooked, or even that the business world in general should pay more attention to?
That's a good question. I just think the speed of things now means that sort of deep thinking, deep creativity, honestly, isn't part of the game anymore. And I would argue it's sort of like the first idea that comes to people's mind is often one we move forward with, which I know, as far as I'm concerned, it's not until you get to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th idea that the rich ideas really turn up. So I think speed and also the appetite of social media. I honestly don't know how you guys, the photographers, do it, because the expectation of how much content you're expected to deliver from, let's call it a one-day shoot, is so overwhelming. And I think the speed and the sheer appetite for sort of ongoing content to feed the beast, the social beast, is it's exhausting. Yes. And it's hard to get to that really profound branded place if you're not taking the time to figure that out. You're just shooting. We're shooting behind the scenes. We're shooting everything, and that would know.
Certainly feel that pressure, and like you say, I think and it's a nice way of putting it, is that you almost feel obliged. And this was part of my webinar I did yesterday on social media. You almost feel obliged that or in your words, you have to feed the beast, And I had to point out that, although social media is turning into a popularity contest, that you shouldn't really, as photographers, think of it as a popularity contest by just uploading everything you can. In fact, I pointed out that you should actually scale that back and only upload the best of you and your work that you can. Don't feed it with quantity, just feed it with quality.
That's right. The other place, we spend a lot of time branding, which means, creating the logo, the color palette, the style, the look and feel of something. We get to photography, everybody wants to use stock, to be perfectly honest at this point, because I can't imagine how they could afford or create a big enough library to, be branded. So that's also really tragic, because that means, You pick an image for your client, and guess what? You see it in 6 months on another brand. So photography
advertising something different. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, one of the most powerful tools we have, as far as I'm concerned, photography, is so commoditized, and it is not branded, that it's almost if the whole visual piece of branding has become a secondary idea in service of expedience and cost. Yeah, we'll just buy those pictures and not shoot them. And I will also say, once you start tiptoeing into the land of stock imagery, there is not enough representation of the greater population in the pool of stock imagery. So it's a real problem.
What do you mean? Sorry, the images are too generic. What do you mean by that?
They're too generic.
Yeah.
They're
too categorized.
Too categorized. Also, I don't think there's enough of a span on racial expression, different skin types, freckles, gray hair, right?
Gotcha.
Like it's a very narrow sort of aesthetic when it comes to
Spectrum.
Stock imagery. It's it's getting better. But
it's funny, isn't it? For a place where there is so much imagery, there's actually so little difference, if you want to put it like that.
I think, I think as well, brands, maybe in the past would do like 4 campaigns a year, and that would be like really like, wow, stunning. And now it's gone to this, let's just do 12 and let's make them all really average. We just need to make them fast and snappy and move on to the next one. Yeah. And I think that shows, it definitely shows.
It's a refresh rate, isn't it now? It's turning into a refresh rate. Sadly.
Well, everything is so ephemeral, right? You put it up and 48 hours later, it's gone. So
completely gone.
It's gone.
That appetite to feed that is just
feed the beast.
It's just ongoing.
It's changed completely.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of
crazy.
social media, I mean, you, like many of us, have Instagram accounts. We document our lives as we open ourselves up to the criticism as part of that as well. Thanks to this new transparent way of life we now lead, I see many younger people being afraid to fail or make mistakes. I mean, you clearly are very successful now, but how have you managed to or manage your failures in the past? Any advice for young people?
Yeah, I think it's a really critical question. And quite honestly, here's the thing about failure. There's really no such thing. Failure needs a rebrand. It's like all the steps that feel and look like failure are required for creativity and learning.
Love it.
Curiosity is fueled and nourished by failure, right? Think about that. Curiosity is, so I think failure needs a rebrand. We somehow think it's bad when in fact it's essential. It is essential. And the difference between success and failure is just the decision to keep trying. What I think is that failure has a function. And failure asks you, do you want to keep going? So curiosity requires it. Learning requires it. Failure is essential. I don't know how
I couldn't agree more, Libby. Yeah, no, I absolutely couldn't agree more. I think it's a shame that people are so afraid of it now. And I get it, because we are so open with how we share our lives. And it's like, Jesus, I'm going to get not enough likes on this. Oh, well, okay, I won't post it then, or I won't do that. And it's just like, wow, that's dangerous. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah,
failure is a fundamental
learning
part
curve
of being creative. Yeah, I mean, you have to fail to then do something different, which is the result of being creative.
Curious. I mean, again, failure asks you if you want to keep going. So if you have an idea and you fail at something, you say, oh gosh, is this something I should keep pushing? Like, is there an opportunity here? Or, should I go down another path? So
gives you options. It gives you options,
100%.
doesn't it? It gives you an option. You just got to then, or it gives you an option you may not even be aware of until that, I'm doing inverted air quotes here, until that failure moment occurred.
Yeah.
It's like, is that then sort of, in a creative point of view, is that then giving you the reality that, shit, I didn't think of that until I've hit this wall. But hey, I tell you what, now I think of it this way, I'm going to go around the damn thing instead of over the top. But hey, what a much better solution.
Right. Yeah. Again, curiosity is fueled by failure. If you're curious about it, why didn't that work? Did I not come at it the right way? Is there another way to look at it? Okay,
Yeah.
just be curious
And-
about it.
And as you said at the beginning, as we all know, we all wake up in the morning in a different mood.
Yeah.
And sometimes we see things differently.
That's-
So what you see today, you may see that same problem different tomorrow, depending on how you're woken up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'll be honest. Not
Failure,
I know I'm guilty
failure
of that.
needs a rebrand. I absolutely love that. Yeah, I think that's really good.
Yeah.
well. I will
love
say,
that.
quite honestly, it's funny because not to loop back to a hair conversation, but I went gray when I was early 30s.
You're picking on me now, aren't
yes,
you?
and
Yeah, Wayne's in his early 30s as well, yeah. He's had a hard life.
and people would tell me, actually, you to be successful in business, you shouldn't really have gray hair because it makes you look old. But so in a way, there was
Somebody didn't say that, did they?
Oh yes.
Really?
To be successful in business, you want to look young. And so in any case, so at one point, I will say, there was this sweet little girl came up to me at one point, and she looked at me, and I had this idea in my head, like, oh my gosh, do I need to rethink this? She came up to me, she said, I love your hair. It's like glitter. It has magic in it. And I never turned back. I was like, okay, so it was presented as failure. Yeah, there was a rebrand.
Rebrand.
Right. I was
Love
like,
it.
oh my gosh, you're going to look old in advertising. You're going to be old. And then I was like, fuck no, my hair's got magic in it. So
Glitter. That's so
I'm
good.
glitter, baby.
That's so good.
Just check this out.
exactly.
And now, in full compliment and respect, I mean, the color of your hair is everywhere on all the young sort of, children's dolls and that now. And then my daughter's only 6, and she's got the Frozen Elsa and Anna dolls, and I think one of them is almost your color now instead of blonde. So
There you have it.
it's the new blonde. Let's
That's
go
right.
for it.
Yeah.
So coming near to the close of the show now on the questions, we're going to go a bit more lighthearted. Do you think walking is a good problem solver?
Oh God, yes. For God's sakes, yes. I mean, for me, it is essential. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Me and Jake were saying before this podcast today that we've been working on some stuff and that, and we had to go out and actually go for a walk to clear our heads a little bit to come back with a fresh mind.
Totally.
So-
The other thing that I see happening a lot now, which is people say, "Okay, get your earbuds in. We're going to have our meeting while we're walking. You go walk. I'm going to go walk, and we're going to have this conversation."
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, really? I'll be like, fuck, get out of here, man. I just want some peace and quiet. It's like, come to get away from you.
And it's
must say
better
I've
than
got-
sitting in Zoom. Honestly, it's like, I'm going to
For
put in
sure.
my
Oh,
and we're
true.
just
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
walk and talk it out.
Yeah, fair play.
I've got friends who, with the COVID lockdown, they've done a lot more walking, and they do it now as a daily ritual, and I'm sure that will continue after lockdown as well. So
Well,
I think it has helped people for sure.
Me and my wife were saying that this morning, and she's actually doing a marathon with some of her girlfriends, but they're doing it online through their daily steps every day.
Oh, that's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
So when we were shopping this morning, I was about to go up the escalator to another level. My life's like, no, come on, let's do the steps. I need the
Right.
steps on my watch. It's like, but I'm not doing the thing that you're doing.
I'm just,
so,
trying to get a pasty.
yeah, I think my wife was trying to slim me down before we went to get the
Wow.
pasty.
Yeah.
Well, have them join me. I'd love to. If they take a picture and post it, I'd love to see it.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, hell yeah, get her to do that. Get her to do that for sure.
because you've got a hashtag that everybody uses. Is that right?
Yeah. So on Instagram, my handle is Park here. My middle name is Park, and I just started with this morning walk. And
Is the hashtag
morning
okay?
walk.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes anyway. So yeah,
Join in.
So if you're
Yeah.
walking, there's the hashtag, and don't forget to post the picture.
And say hello.
So-
Send a message. Say hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how that goes. Yeah.
It's not trending next week,
Yeah.
you wait.
Unlikely.
So what goals lie ahead now? I mean, obviously you've reinvented yourself several times throughout your life. Have you got any new goals coming up? Is there a new walking milestone that you're working on? Perhaps Earth to Moon?
Earth
Is
to
that
Moon.
on the cards?
Yeah, I'm partnering with Elon Musk to work on that one. So, yes, no. Well, I guess doing something right now which really terrifies me, which is, believe it or not, write a book on walking with a company over there in the UK. It's called the Do Book Company. It's affiliated with the
that's right.
Do Lectures, which is a beautiful organization with which I've been involved. And I was supposed to give a talk on the power of walking last year up in Cardigan in Wales. And that, of course, unfortunately was canceled. Hopefully it'll happen this year. But in any case, in partnership with Do Book Company. So that's my reinvention as a visual person, words are quite honestly terrifying. So to sit down and write feels a little overwhelming. But
do you enjoy writing?
I do. I find it hard to believe anybody is really that interested in what I'm writing, so I just have to get over that.
Okay.
See, I'd take your book idea. I'd just flip that around, and a book on walking. I'd actually just write a book while bloody walking. It's like,
well, that's
granted, it'd be random shit that I'm walking past and scenery that I'm going through, but I think I'd write it while walking rather than about.
Well,
walking.
it's a great idea. That's actually how I wrote the introduction. Is one morning I put in my earbuds and I just recorded it and transcribed it, and so the introduction is actually while I was out on a walk.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I see a whole list of sponsors for you here, Libby, for your walking. We've got earbuds, we've got train, we've got shoes.
You can't just go out for a walk anymore. You gotta sponsor it.
They'll be GPSing you on your walk so they can hashtag you on the map. It's like...
From Where's Waldo to Where's Libby, yeah.
No, I think you should definitely do that book. I mean, just from speaking to you for an hour, you've definitely got some absolutely incredible insights, and I love a lot of the ways that you've gotten it across and the way that you explain it. Absolutely do the book, and I will be first in line to get that myself.
You're very kind.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We'll be queuing up for a signed copy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, probably be worth something. So, I mean, that'd be great to get that.
Oh, so what would you call your book? Have you got a title for it? You're not allowed to disclose it. Is it just The Woman That Walked the
Yes, basically. I think it's... I don't remember what the title... I don't remember what the title is, but we do have...
that's fine.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Wayne's one was good, though. The Woman That Walked... Yeah, I mean, that's, it's to the point.
Yeah, something along those lines.
No getting confused on that title, is there?
True, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, I think that's a really great happy note to end the show on. We got through all the serious stuff and the formalities, and we ended on the fun stuff at the end and the passion. I think that's a great part. Any more questions from you, Jake, before we get to the segment close?
Outstanding. I don't often get a chance to listen to all these podcasts once they go out, but this is definitely one that I'm going to have a re-listen to, because I think Libby shared a lot of key insights there, and a lot of just very quick quotes and stuff that I think were just great. That certainly rung to me, which is excellent. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hugely.
It's like lots of little wake up calls.
Yeah, I think it was. I think there's a lot of
speech,
great
Libby,
little tips there, which is nice. Yeah.
I think you need to sort of revisit the philosophy and do a book of one-liner quotes of basically sort your shit out in life. So I think that could work quite well.
Just sort it out.
Wayne John's approach. Okay. Yeah.
For a lot of people, I'm sure they could relate it in a philosophical way, as we know.
No, it's been great. Yeah, thank you so much, Libby, for your time. Yeah.
Thank you both.
That's been amazing. Well, Libby, before we close off the show, this is a point where we ask you. You've heard it in previous podcasts. This is where we ask you to personally recommend 2 creatives, and that can be from either the photographic or the video or advertising world, to come on to Podlemania as a guest for the show. And of course, as always, we ask you to get in touch with them and do an e-intro for us to stop us getting arrested for harassment.
Again,
it would be lovely for you to give 2 of your recommendations for us, because I think they would be super, super interesting.
Oh, thank you. I thought about it and have a list of 4. So
we'll take it. Amazing.
The first person I really would recommend is a young woman named Becca Skinner. She's a Nat Geo photographer. Conservationist, just a beautiful, beautiful person. And she lives out in Montana. I would recommend her. I would also recommend a very, very dear friend, John Hewitt, who is a real craftsman at the art of photography. And he is an official photographer for the Olympic Games. A beautiful person. I'd also really recommend John Dolan, who is a photographer here in New York, who often is known as a wedding photographer, but he, I shouldn't say but, and he photographs these moments in such a tender, heart-centered way. He sees things in weddings I think nobody else sees, and brings such a artful vision to it. So those 3 people, there's others, but I'll stick with those 3, Becca, John, and John.
That's amazing. No, that's amazing. Yeah, well, if you would be kind enough to do the e-intro on that, then obviously we will most certainly get those arranged and get them on the show
Fascinating. Yeah,
for
yeah.
future episodes.
Yeah, you got it.
That
And
sounds-
anybody who's out walking, please. I'd love to see. I love seeing where people are walking. It's really joyous.
Perfect. Well, I'll take a quick snap as I walk into the
Yeah.
shops.
Of your cake,
I'll-
please.
Hashtag my walk to the kitchen in a minute. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I can certainly send you I can send you a picture of my cake if you want. You may be a bit jealous.
I will.
We didn't even get to talk about your tea snobbery I saw on your website.
I know.
Yeah, it's I'm a Fortnum and Mason gal.
Oh, are you? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Masala chai.
Oh.
Yeah, in that beautiful
Okay.
little green tin. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay.
Mm.
Straight in
Blimey.
there. Straight in there.
Cultured. Blimey.
I see another episode coming back on Tea Alone, Jake.
Yeah.
Hmm.
American
How about you?
American
Into an art
listeners
form.
now are just going, what are they talking about?
What are they talking about? Are you tea drinkers? And which kind do you drink?
I have to say, I'm a bit of a heathen. I just drink Yorkshire tea, which is
Oh,
strong
beautiful.
tea. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which funny enough, doesn't even come from
No,
bloody
I know,
Yorkshire.
but
It's
I mean,
amazing.
you know, it's strong. It's got a lot of flavour. It's good. Yeah.
P&G tips.
Yeah. PG tips.
Yeah.
Can be a cup of PG. Yeah. The daily tea. Okay, Libby, before we close off, would you like to just tell our audience where they can find you, your websites, your social forums, those kind of things, and some obviously the features where you've been interviewed and things and columns you've
Yeah,
written?
sure. Thank you. I guess first and foremost would be Instagram. And again, my handle is Park Here, as in the park. Same on Twitter.
Yep.
It'd be Libby DeLana on LinkedIn. But on Instagram, but right up at the top, I have a little link tree, which has some links to articles. I just wrote a piece on Walking for Fast Company and the BBC interview, which you so nicely highlighted. So I think probably the best thing is Instagram, and then that little link tree has all that. Yeah.
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 Brilliant. Yeah. And of course, we'll include those in the show
Thank
notes
you so
anyway,
much.
so people can go and look and listen to those because it is a listen as well as a look and a read. So yeah, brilliant. We'll include those in there. That's perfect. Okay. Well, remember, folks, if you would like to help support us and to produce and record even more great interviews with some of the world's greatest creative talents, your support and donations are very much appreciated. And for those that don't know, you can find our donate button on our website at podlemania.com/donate. Whether it's £1 or $1, it all helps keep the hamster fed, to keep the wheel turning, to keep the electric on for this podcast as it is self-funded. And if you like this episode and don't want to miss out on new episodes, then please make sure you subscribe to us on your chosen podcast player, or you can subscribe to the podcast at podlemania.com/subscribe. And remember, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes Store, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, and Podlemania, as well as about 35 other podcast channels. And we do go out in over 36 countries. So, yeah, don't forget to give us a like on Apple Podcasts, because that seems to be the leader for us at the moment to give us some traction and some movement up those charts. But we just want to say thank you for listening to this episode. It's been educational, insightful at the same time. And I think enthusing everyone to go and buy a new pair of walking shoes for sure. But we'd like to thank our lovely guest today, Libby DeLana. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah,
it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you today.
My pleasure. Thank you both.
Okay, folks, we will catch you in the next episode. Until then, enjoy the Christmas season. And we hope you all have fun. But from us,
Take care.
Cheerio.
Guys.
take care.
Bye.